So welcome to I Get a Live moment for today with myself, Lisa Davies, and I'm delighted to be joined by my very good friend, my dear friend, Wendy Jackson, who is the most amazing therapist and healer who uses a whole range of natural approaches to health and well-being. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Lisa. It's such a lovely introduction. Thank you.
It is. It's true. It's all true. So obviously I've known you for many years now. I'm not going to say how many because it makes us both feel older. For many, many years now. But for those who don't know you, who is Wendy Jackson? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I first got into homeopathy. I can start there really. When I had my beautiful daughter Rose, and I had postnatal depression. Mm-hmm. As I'm sure you know, there are lots of ladies out there that do get that. And at the time, I knew a friend who'd been on antidepressants, and every time she tried to get off, all the reasons for her going on them just kept bubbling up. Yeah. And I thought, well, do you know, that's not the path for me. And plus, I've always been quite sensitive to drugs anyway. Yeah. You know, I'd have one antibiotic and I would get diarrhea, so the doctor would give me another antibiotic, I'd get something else until I went through them all, and she'd go, "Wendy, there are no other antibiotics you can have now." Yeah. So, you know, I've done the conventional bit for a long time, up until I had my daughter. And it was actually my husband at the time took me to a homeopath, which I had no idea what a homeopath was. No idea at all. Never knew, never used any alternative remedies, medicine, nothing. I was always, well, very rarely, but if I went, I'd go to the doctors.
So for anybody who doesn't still know what homeopathy is, what is homeopathy then?
Yeah, what is it?
What is that?
So, what is that? Well, I mean, I've got some kits here. I can. This is my kit at home that I use. There's 36 remedies in there for all sorts of ailments. So homeopathy is well, Samuel Hahnemann started this off a few hundred years ago, and he discovered by using China bark, which if you were, well, let's go with an easier one actually. Let's go with belladonna. That's a good one because I use
that's deadly nightshade, isn't it?
Deadly nightshade. So in its crude form, in a plant form, it would give a fever, go on to delirium, coma, and eventually death because it is a deadly plant.
Deadly plant, yeah.
Deadly. So how homeopathy works is what we call like curing like. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'd take the plant of belladonna. I wouldn't, the pharmacy would take the plant, they would grind and crush it, add alcohol and water, and then what we call succussing, which is a banging effect really. And they'd grind and crush and dilute, and it would get more and more diluted until it gets to a point called Avogadro's number. Okay. And at that point, there's no physical evidence left of what we started with over here with the plant.
Okay.
So we're into quantum physics, really, and
so
we know a lot
with the energy of it.
You've left with the energy of the belladonna plant. So we're talking energy medicine. Okay. So we're now into homeopathy. Yeah. So homeopathy is all based on energy medicine. So what would, in its crude form, cause would make better in its homeopathic form.
So if somebody got a fever, for example, or a fever, like a small child where they can sometimes get sort of a bit delusional with a fever, you know, if they're really poorly, like, you know, they could take belladonna and that would have a curative effect. Right.
So yes, when my daughter
I know this, but for the purpose of the
absolutely.
So, yeah.
So yeah, when my daughter was little, I would give her belladonna rather than Calpol.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So just as a different choice. In fact, I did try and give her Calpol a couple of times, and she'd spit it out. She didn't like it. So so there is alternatives for all sorts of ailments. Yeah, so that was me. So I had the postnatal depression. I went to a homeopath. I also did counselling, because as we know, a lot of our illnesses, and especially depression, is all about emotions that are suppressed.
Yes.
So for me, before Rose, I had lost a little boy who we'd named Nathaniel, and basically I was told to go home and try again. Give it 3 months. That's what I was told. Give it 3 months and try again. So I had no counselling, nothing. So that's what we did. I fell pregnant again about 4 or 5 months later, and I miscarried. And then when I eventually caught for Rose, you know, I'd never dealt with any of this stuff.
And that, sadly, is quite often still the case, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, because I think some people think that you have to just pick yourself up and get on with it, and it's not, because that is a real loss and a grief. So, you know, to talk about it and really express those emotions. And what I've done since I had Nathaniel, which I didn't do at the time because we just had him put in a book of remembrance, is that I did a little ceremony for him to really send him off and to really acknowledge that grief and that loss, and that was really powerful. So, you know, little things like that are really
and this is really such a long time ago, isn't it, Wendy? Is this about 20 years ago, something like that? Yeah,
20, so it'd be 22 years ago. He would have been 22 this year. So a long time.
So this whole experience started you on a natural approach to health and well-being. And obviously you've said about homeopathy helping from a physical point of view, because we talked about belladonna, but it does also support mental and emotional, doesn't it? Which is moving on to the postnatal depression.
Absolutely. And one of the remedies, I mean, sepia was a good remedy. That's slightly different, actually. That sepia is all about being the worn-out mother. So there was a bit of that going on. But no, the remedy that did it for me, one of the big ones, was aurum, which is gold.
Gold,
yeah. When you put all of your eggs in one basket, and you know, you go for gold, which is, you know, essentially what you're doing for a child, isn't it? You want that golden egg at the end. That lifted me. That was one of the big remedies that lifted me out of depression. But there are many. It's all about, so when you take the case, it's all about taking the life history.
Yes.
You know, so it's a bit of an investigative work. So you're getting a timeline of how people have got to where they are.
Yes.
What illnesses they've had, what mental emotional traumas they've had. And then it's unpicking it, and it's about what they're presenting at the time. But it's also a bit like layers of an onion. You're peeling away layers of an onion.
And it can also be hereditary patterning, can't it? So it can be things that are passed down the maternal or paternal line as well that you will take into consideration.
Absolutely, yeah. I take mums and dads. So, you know, you come and I want to know mum and dad, and I want to know grandparents' history, just to get, just not in depth that, but more about, you know, what major ailments, and maybe, you know, if there was depression. So if that sort of runs in the lineage, then that's important to know too. So
you went on to add other things to your toolkit, though, haven't you, over the years, Wendy? So tell us a little bit more about the broad depth of your knowledge.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Well, as you can see behind me, see all those flowers?
Yes.
I'm pointing.
Strange when you're on Zoom, isn't it? Yeah, I can see the beautiful flowers behind you.
So they're the Australian bush flowers. So I use flower essences. I do use the bark as well, but I was very much drawn to the bush flowers when I trained, and I completed my level 1 and level 2, and I've assisted Ian on his workshops in the United Kingdom. Ian White is the founder of the Australian, lovely man, and I've helped with you know, selling the essences, being there and helping set up and things.
So
I use flower essences, I use herbal tinctures, which are more organ support. So sometimes the body needs more of a physical dose of a root medicine. So like a heart support or kidney support, liver support, and that helps to get that particular organ working optimally.
Yes. Yeah.
I've
been watching, you've been doing these beautiful little videos, haven't you, each day about each of the bush flowers. So you're going through them in alphabetical order, but you also teach this. So you run workshops in real life, and also I get a suspicion that you're also planning something online, aren't you, in order for people to experience and embody those beautiful flowers.
Yeah, I'm looking at doing a little Zoom, well, maybe like a weekly, or I haven't quite finalized it all yet, but to so as I'm doing it, we're on bush gardenia today. Which is all about renews interest in communication in relationships.
Which is really useful because you're communicating on video today.
Exactly.
You're living it. You're living the essence.
Yeah. And I did a Zoom call this morning with a group, and it was beautiful communication, and a lot of us were in tears, but it was good because it was a moving of energy for all of us and emotions, and it was great. So sort of embody that essence for the day. So that is something I'm going to be doing. And working.
That's really exciting. Yeah. That's really exciting that people can get involved in that, even if they can't, even if they're anywhere in the world and they can't get to one of your real life face-to-face workshops, which for anybody, when we can do that, for anybody who's not attended one of Wendy's workshops, I would highly recommend it. It's a really beautiful, gentle energy that you learn and grow in. But, anybody in the world can access this now, can't they? They can access this wisdom and knowledge.
Amazing.
You've also, I mean, it's where to start with the broad and depth of your knowledge, because you've also done shamanic work, and there's so much in your toolkit. You're a Reiki master, so just kind of tell us, how does this all come together for you, Wendy?
Wow, yeah. Well, I did a year's course to be a shaman, and obviously I've done my Reiki with you and qualified as a Reiki master. So I think for me, I'll wait for the person to come and then generally get a sense of what they may need or they may ask. So they could come and do a consultation, but actually they may need some Reiki as well, or they may need some sound healing, or some past life regression, and it all depends on when I meet the person, really.
Yeah, but you can do this. Am I right in thinking that you can do this remotely as well through Zoom?
I have been doing consultations through Zoom. Yes, I have.
Yeah. Which is great, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing that I suppose we've all discovered as therapists, that, it's been so difficult when we've not been able to be in the space with somebody, but we'll know that there's no bounds of time or space, really. And I think that as prospective clients have started to realise that this is a great medium through which to connect, they too have felt confident to access the work that you do remotely as well.
Absolutely, amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on where you're going next with things with groups, to share this knowledge, because there's a whole world out there waiting to tap into Wendy's knowledge. So what's next on your journey, Wendy?
Oh, what's next on my journey, Lisa? Well, more of what I'm doing, I think. I do want to say, because I love my homeopathy. There is also a birthing kit, just so ladies know.
Oh yes, absolutely. And you can get them for animals as well, is that right?
I've got my animal one.
Oh, that just to hand, yeah.
Yeah, that's my Jasper. And actually, when I used to have chickens, I've treated those. I remember my sister's dog getting in the run and chasing the chickens. Wow, you can imagine they were in absolute shock and trauma. So I treated them with some aconite in the water and some arnica.
Yeah.
And some rescue. This one actually has a flower rescue in it as well. Has a flower SOS, it's called.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah, so I highly recommend it, because, you know, some people, you know, for animals and children, they have no, you know, because some people say, oh, it doesn't work, it's just placebo. But for animals and babies, when it works, you know, they have no judgment or...
No, they can't make it up.
They can't make it up. It works.
It works. Now, you know, I'm an absolute convert. I've used homeopathy for years, and like Wendy, I had severe postnatal depression after I had my daughter. She's 28 this year, and you know, one of the key things that helped me get well was homeopathy. So, you know, I'm an absolute advocate for it. So, well, Wendy, it's been absolutely wonderful learning a little bit more about you and the vast array of your toolkit that's available to help people. But as I asked all of my guests, what is your top get a life moment tip for those people watching?
Okay, I firmly believe, and this I've advocated for years really, is to eat an organic diet where possible. Grow your own veg. Okay. Keep fit. Use natural remedies. And have a loving relationship, especially with yourself.
Yeah.
Especially with yourself.
It all starts with the relationship with self, doesn't it?
It does. It does. So yeah, and you know, they're really simple things. I think the simple things in life are most important.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today, Wendy. It's been my absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Lisa. It's been beautiful. Thank you.